The Bubba Wallace hoax exposed, a big victory in court for General Flynn, tearing down Abraham Lincoln, Texas sets a troubling COVID-19 record, Twitter censors Trump, and an Oregon county's mask mandate unmasked. Welcome to the Buck Sexton Show, everybody. An honor and a privilege to have you here with me. I just want to jump right into this. I knew it. And you know that I knew it. You know that sure enough, this would happen. Now, I couldn't be, and if you listen to yesterday's show, my analysis with Matt Walsh, that came before, what we were talking on the show yesterday, that came before all the breaking news about this, before we were all told that, sure enough, Bubba Wallace was not the target of a hate crime, that Bubba Wallace is not somebody who should be held up as a hero of the civil rights movement because nothing happened at all. What was the truth of this alleged noose? It was a pull-down rope on a garage door, and it wasn't even a noose. It was a rope with a loop, but that's not the same thing as a noose, okay? We need to start at least being real here about what it is that we see in reality. Now, let's just take a step back. Why is it that I was putting out viral tweets last 2 days? Well, why is it I was able to do this and just keep focusing on one thing? Okay, I can't prove that this is a hoax yet. So it wouldn't be right for me to say, because we had no evidence. All we had is a highly unlikely allegation, right? Now, why would I say it's unlikely? It's unlikely because we had already had a number of noose hoaxes here in New York, out in Oakland, and just ridiculous ones. So we should have been on the lookout for fake noose, if you will. That should have been happening. And I was. So I saw this coming. You listen to me. I was saying, okay, no. I'm not going to say meaning Bubba Wallace, is a liar because I can't prove it. And he didn't even see the noose. So that's a whole other level here. Oh, you're going to be the guy that's the target of a hate crime and you don't even see what the hate crime is supposed to be? But then you're going to have people, the head of NASCAR and all these different drivers and walking in solidarity and all the rest of it. My friends, how did we know that this was BS? How did we know that? Very straightforward. It's not that anybody was being unfair to Bubba Wallace or anything like that. No. There is no way that it's a credible story that there was no person who saw this. The FBI sent 15 agents. 15 agents to go investigate this. It is not in the least bit credible that the photo of the offending noose would not have been widely shared all over social media, would not have been part of the public record right away. Not credible. It's just simply not believable. In a similar fashion, it was not credible. Well, the entire Jussie Smollett story was not credible. And I want to let you know, I had blue checks coming at me. So I had other verified journos on the left that, how could you not believe Jussie Smollett? How dare you? The same way they came at me when I said, the Kavanaugh accusers, they're lying. These are liars. Can we just speak honestly? Can we stop? Oh, we're all living in fear. No, please don't call me a mean word, libs. They want to do a lot more than that. Okay, I think we're finally figuring that out. If you're going to hide from the mean words of the libs, you're going to be hiding from everything forever. They're not going to stop. Certainly not with the way things are going right now. But what was the case here? What really happened? Someone told Bubba Wallace, this is the story, that they saw a noose in his garage. It turns out that it's a garage door pull-down string that has been there since 2019, that many other people saw, walked under, walked past, and did not think anything of it. Another noose hoax. Now, I just want to be clear, because you may be saying, well, Buck, why didn't You clearly didn't believe it, but why wouldn't you say he's a liar? Up. It's not worth taking that risk in this instance, because what if, for example, somebody had put up a noose as a kind of false flag, somebody who is all about Black Lives Matter movement and somebody who's, putting up the black square on their Instagram and doing all these things? What if they did it to create the impression of racism existing within NASCAR? And now, even though I would have been right in the sense that this isn't some white nationalist or neo-Nazi who's doing this. See, this is what ends up happening in these news hoaxes. I want to be very clear why I clearly knew that he was lying, but couldn't say that he was lying, could only say, where's the evidence this is fishy? And go back and listen to the show yesterday. And remember, that was before all this came out. Where's the evidence this is fishy? Because there was the possibility that someone might have planted a noose so that he would become a hero and a civil rights icon and, on the cover of the Wheaties box and everything. Oh, look at what happened to Kaepernick, right? That he becomes a figure who will be even more celebrated. Professors in colleges and universities have tried this. There was a famous case of a professor who was up for not going to receive tenure and all of a sudden found a noose. I believe it was found a noose on the back of her door. I think it was at Columbia University here. And, you're going to fire the professor who found it? Oh, no, but it served the purpose, right? Oh, this is a professor who faces racism. It was a hoax. She put it on her own door. So that was why I couldn't just say this is a lie, because there was always the possibility, well, there's the 1 in a million chance that this really was some Klansman who would take this opportunity to sneak into a NASCAR garage for this act of evil. It's a 1 in a million chance, but I can't prove that would never happen. But there was a decent chance here that this was somebody who wanted to create an opportunity to exploit for the benefit of Bubba Wallace. I had never heard of this guy before. Now I'm opening my show talking about him. And that then brings me to the next thing. So we were right. The lib media is full of morons and cowards because they were, oh my gosh, Bubba Wallace, what's happening? And a lot of us were sitting, and there's some big names on the right. I don't think I need to call them out here because you can find them. Big names on the right. This is horrible. We need to find the perpetrators. Instead of saying, this would be bad if it happened, but can we have some evidence that it actually happened first? That was my position. That was the right one. Nikki Haley got taken to task on Tucker Carlson show, but there were others. There were others who were like, see how much I care about equality and race issues, and I'm a conservative. Just douse myself in virtue signaling. Oh, I'm amazing. I will chase the perpetrators of this deed to the ends of the earth. The deed that didn't happen. This was a rope that was very obvious what the purpose of it was. Anybody who was being serious would know this. But guess what? They have fallen back on the defense that I knew they would. This is still a noose because Bubba Wallace is out there saying that it's a noose. The FBI has said no noose, no hate crime. But Bubba Wallace is saying, oh, no, it still is. And how dare people challenge my integrity and blah, blah, blah. Play clip 1.
I've been racing all my life. We've raced out of hundreds of garages that never had garage pools like that. So people that want to call it a garage pool and put out old videos and photos of knots being in their as their evidence, go ahead. But from the evidence that we have, that I have, it's a straight up noose. The FBI has stated it was a noose over and over again. NASCAR leadership has stated that it was a noose. I can confirm that. I actually got evidence of what was hanging in my garage, over my car, around my picker guys, to confirm that it was a noose. And never seen anything like it.
This guy's a fraud and an idiot. It's not a noose, buddy. Nice try. It's not a noose. It actually isn't even technically, physically speaking, a noose. There's a very specific, a noose is supposed to have a certain effect. You wouldn't set up a noose for a garage pole because it would be squeezing and hurting your hand every time you used it. It's not a noose. And I don't even care. I mean, the FBI, there are idiots all over the FBI, too. They just know this isn't a hate crime because it was there before the guy even was in the garage, and nobody else thought it was a noose. But this is the same FBI that was like, we can't tell you whether Omar Mateen at the Pulse nightclub is actually a jihadist. He's like, yeah, hi, I'm on the phone. I'm a jihadist, and I'm doing this for ISIS and Allah. FBI's like, whoa, we don't know what this guy's doing. So there's a lot of stupidity. Yeah, the James Comey, formerly run by James Comey, FBI. Yeah, no, don't expect them to be spot on with this whole thing. But Bubba Wallace, here's the truth of this, and get ready for it. Despite the idiocy of this whole affair, which was completely predictable and has happened exactly as I thought it would, despite that, he is going to dig in and claim that it is a noose, even if no one thought it was a noose until all of a sudden he walks by it and says it's. I mean, it's like this is the theater of the absurd. This is crazy town. But he's going to stay with that. That's his story. He's going to stick to it. Don Lemon was talking to him last night. Oh, yes, Don Lemon. Let's have a serious conversation with he's not the dumbest person on TV. That's actually, I disagree with Trump on that. There are dumber people on television. Steve Schmidt, who ran the McCain campaign. Yeah, I'm Steve Schmidt. I was like really good at politics, and I'm on everything. He might be the dumbest person. Anna Navarro on CNN, also very, very dumb. So there's a number of people who are right up there. But let's get back to the case at hand, shall we? Bubba Wallace is now, and I want you to sit down as you hear this if you're not already. Bubba Wallace is a more marketable, better known brand as a result of this. Yes, I'm here to tell you the truth. That's right. Not only will he not face any real sanction because of this, going along with this ridiculous hoax, not only will there be no punishment of him in any way. In fact, now, even though it was a fake noose hoax, even though that's what happened, the way that this will play out going forward will be as if it was real. Oh, anybody, if Bubba Wallace has a bad record at the track, a bad track record, I guess you could say, if he starts losing races and he's not getting the same sponsorships and level, it'll be just like Kaepernick, who was on the downslope of his career, had a bad season and was a pain to the owners, was a pain to the people running the NFL and the teams, although that's all now shifted. With all that going on, this is where we are. He's now a hero, more powerful, more, than he's ever been before. That's what's going on here. That's what's happening. Same thing is true for Bubba Wallace. Same thing. He is going to become a bigger name, make more money, and be essentially not unfireable, but there'll always be this special treatment that he'll receive, even though this was all a lie. Get ready for that. Get ready for it. And anyone, anytime anyone says anything about Bubba Wallace, it's going to be, whoa, hold on a second. You're being a little racist about Bubba Wallace right now, criticizing his driving today at the track. Oh, that is how this works. Even though it's fake, he has now become a part of that movement and has been the target. People in their minds will think he was targeted with this racism, even though he wasn't. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Will this change the narrative of the left? Will they all of a sudden say, hold on a second, why, if racism is so bad in this country, do we have to keep having these instances that are fake? Why do we have to keep having instances that are fake given what this keeps happening? If there was as much racism as they tell us, wouldn't there be bigger cases about these hate crimes that were real? think of a big hate crime case where it just involved an inanimate object, right? So a symbol of some kind, a rope somewhere. You think, these are a lot of fakes. Why does this keep happening? Because people are so incentivized and have convinced themselves, so brainwashed in this narrative of the deeply racist and rotten to the core with racism America, that even if they have to fabricate the evidence for that perception, they will do it and feel righteous as they do it because they know it is true, even if the evidence isn't there. That's where we are. It's amazing, my friends, but this will be a career win for Bubba Wallace. I'm telling you. Working from home is driving up one of the worst types of cybercrime out there: home title theft. You see, we're doing it all from home these days, right? We're working, we're banking, video conferences, meal deliveries, shopping. Cyber criminals are targeting our homes. Actually, what they want is the money that they can get by taking out loans against your home. The crime is home title theft. The FBI is warning people about it constantly. You see, your home's legal title is online. The bad guys can find it and forge your signature stating you sold your home to them. Then they take out loans on your home and leave you in debt. Banks, insurance, and basic identity theft services don't protect you. Home Title Lock is your answer. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title. Protect your home now. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. Use code BUCK for 30 free days of protection to help you through this crisis. That's code BUCK right now at HomeTitleLock.com. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Use code BUCK.
The FBI identified it as a noose. NASCAR said it was a noose or went along with the FBI's characterization. It was a noose. So the question is, even if they did not know that Bubba Wallace was going to use that stall, why was a noose in the stall? It's clear what a noose represents. And I think to go whether or not they knew that sooner or later the one black driver would use that stall really doesn't answer why it was in the stall at all. And then did someone know that it was in the stall when they did belatedly assign Bubba there? So I don't think this answers a lot of questions. And clearly from what we just saw of Bubba Wallace, it does not seem he, who is the victim and possible target in this matter, seems to be satisfied with this. So I do not think that we've seen closure in this particular inquiry.
Oh, what a surprise. You mean Reverend Al is sticking by this was a noose, which is a hate crime, even if it wasn't put there with any intent. And I'm just going to say, anyone who says it's a noose is wrong, just on the facts, too. But we're going to stay with this, going to stick with it. My friends, this is what you're really seeing here. The facts do not matter. They never matter in these cases. It's always about raising awareness, no matter how fraudulent the actual facts may be or the actual storyline may be. It just does not matter. Right? After each of these hoaxes, there's this effort to say, well, now we're having a conversation about systemic racism, so that must be a good thing. What about the rule of law? What about law enforcement resources being used here and just all of the tension that is raised here? Oh my gosh, the most prominent African American driver in NASCAR has been the target of a hate crime. People believe that and will continue to believe that even though it's not true. And that hurts our unity. That exacerbates racial division. That's a bad thing for people to think something is true that is not, that makes them believe they're in a more racist country than they are. This is the situation, my friends. This is the media. You'd think they could ask the most basic questions about this before, but no. Quite the opposite. Instead, they just go along with it all. They would rather be stupid than be playing for the other team here, which I would say is team facts. That's all. It's not about anything else. Team facts. Some good news for General Flynn that I can share with all of you today, and also a very big piece of new evidence in the deep state plot to destroy Flynn that we have seen. So let me start with what you may have heard, and then we'll drill into the analysis and the why this matters so very much. The appeals court in D.C. that was hearing the request from the Flynn defense team for a writ of mandamus, meaning to shut this thing down. The appeals court said yes, the D.C. Circuit Court, the federal court, lower level federal court, was wrong. Judge Sullivan was wrong not to respect the DOJ request to drop. Well, the DOJ has dropped the charges, and with that, the expectation is the case would be dropped. Now, this is not complicated, right? That aspect of it, we should remember, is very straightforward. There is no prosecution arm of the United States government that wants the General Flynn prosecution to continue. But there are people in the deep state, there are Democrats, there are leftists, there are Trump haters who simply do not care. They don't care that Flynn has all this new information and evidence that has come to light that shows that he was set up, that this was political, that this was a hit. No, they plan to continue this prosecution, at least drag it out. Now, Sullivan, the judge in this case, has already shown himself in the past to be, Judge Emmett Sullivan, to be bizarrely anti-Flynn. He has shown that, he said that he talked about Flynn being a traitor. No one said that Flynn's a traitor. I mean, this is just nuts. It's like he's out there reading a bunch of these left-wing opinion sites, Salon.com and The Nation and these places, a bunch of fake elitist commies running around pretending that they're revolutionaries, standing up for justice and stuff. I mean, that's what you get on those sites. That Judge Sullivan would take some of that and obviously internalize it in some way and think of General Flynn, who is a 3-star general, former national security advisor, decades, 30-plus years of service in the United States military. And he has been treated horribly this whole time. Horribly. What's going on here? I mean, this is a deep injustice. And now this is a very good thing, what happened today with the appeals court, but it's not done. I'm going to get into that in a moment. But I want to start with some of how we got here so we can really understand what today's ruling means and what we should expect going forward. The narrative that you often hear about this is that Flynn is getting special treatment. And I just want to say that that's true. General Flynn is getting special treatment. Really bad special treatment. The fact that the Department of Justice dragged this thing out, that the Mueller team decided to use a criminal prosecution of him and the threat of a criminal prosecution of his son to force a guilty plea out of him. And can we just stop with all this garbage, this crap that you will constantly hear from libs about how he pleaded guilty. If he pleaded guilty, he's guilty. Really? Do they say that about the so-called Central Park Five, who admitted to roles in the heinous sexual assault years and years ago here in New York City on video with an adult relative present? Do they say, oh, well, they admitted it? No, of course not. And they took guilty pleas. Do they say, oh, well, they were, no, they say, well, that was forced on them, the wrong person, or whatever. No. But now all of a sudden, because it's General Flynn, a guilty plea is all that matters. Even when you find serious government misconduct, which has been found in this case, serious government misconduct. This was all done for political reasons. We know this. We understand this. But Flynn has been treated terribly by the system, a system that he served for a very long time, honorably and with courage. It's disgusting what they've done to him. They've bankrupted this man. He has run up millions of dollars of legal bills. He has had his reputation ruined, threatened to put, and he knew that they weren't going after his son for something that was a legitimate criminal charge that would usually come up under the normal way that they approach Foreign Agent Registration Act, FARA regulations. No, it was, we're going to find a pretext to destroy your son because of you. So you do what we say or else. You plead guilty here or else we go after your son. And they hid exculpatory evidence. And they lied to the court about that evidence. The FBI agents who interviewed Flynn did not even initially believe. They did not believe that he had lied. It wasn't until Mueller came along, really Weissman, who was running that thing, who's now been trying to do, I think they stepped away from it because it looked so grotesque. Democrat fundraisers for Joe Biden. A Democrat fundraiser wannabe for Biden was running the Mueller probe. And we're supposed to think that this was on the up and up? That this wasn't a political hit? That there weren't clear incentives here to use this as a weapon against the Trump campaign, the Trump administration? How dumb do the libs think we all are? Well, I mean, I guess they just must think we're all really dumb. So that's what has happened here. It has been an egregious miscarriage of justice. And, legal Twitter would reference these people that go on NBC and ABC and, oh, I'm a former prosecutor, and let me tell you what's going on. These people are all idiots who are the ones who have been saying Flynn is guilty, Flynn should go away. They're wrong, okay? The court today, an appeals court today, said that this needs to end. And how many people have you heard, oh, no, this trial shouldn't end, it should keep going? The amicus brief that's been filed by John Gleeson. This is Judge Sullivan abusing his discretion as a judge. The appeals court has already agreed with this. I mean, they slapped this down today. So this guy, Judge Sullivan, is bringing in some guy to wage a kind of shadow prosecution here. John Gleeson is the shadow prosecutor against Flynn when the government that has the sole authority under Article 2 to engage in this prosecution, the government has been saying, what are you doing? We're done. This never should have happened. Now, this is what's going to happen. People were celebrating this today. And look, it's good. No mistake. This is a good day for Flynn. Sidney Powell should be, really just doing backflips right now. She's done amazing work on this one. The legal establishment was so dismissive and snide about her efforts to revive the defense of General Flynn. She's a hero. She's a hero for justice. She's a hero for what is right in this country. Now, what does it mean, this case? What the decision that came down today? I mean, here, I can actually tell you specifically the verbiage that has been used on this one. The United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, this just came down, upon consideration, this is the order, of the emergency petition for a writ of mandamus, the responses thereto and the reply, the briefs of amici curiae in support of the parties, and the arguments by counsel, it is ordered that Flynn's petition for a writ of mandamus be granted in part. The district court is directed to grant the government's Rule 48A motion to dismiss, and the district court's order appointing an amicus is hereby vacated as moot in accordance with the opinion of the court filed herein this date. So this is the appeals court saying, shut it down, shut it down. What the blank are you doing, Judge Sullivan? That's what this is saying. Now, everyone's looking at this and saying, okay, well, the appeals court, the higher court than the one that Sullivan sits on, has said that the writ of mandamus to end this prosecution should be granted. Guess what? Now it goes down to the inferior court, and maybe Sullivan decides that he's still going to have this hearing. Maybe Sullivan wants to continue with this charade. And that could happen. You know what I think is even more likely to happen? You have a whole bunch of Obama-appointed judges sitting on this appeals court. They could go for what's called an en banc review. which means that all of the judges will take up this issue now. This was a three-panel of judges, three-person panel, and it could go to all of the judges that sit on this D.C. circuit. They might look at this and come up with, and guess what? I would not, and they can just decide to do that. I would not be surprised if that happens, and I would not be surprised if then they reverse the initial appeals court decision, which would force a Supreme Court showdown for this issue. Think about what lengths the deep state Trump-hating Democrats are going to here over an alleged lie to the FBI that they didn't even think was a lie, where nothing really happened and nobody would, what are we even talking about? This happened in 2017. They've been dragging this out to this point. Is Flynn even going to face a criminal sentencing? Well, what are the people that think this should go on really hoping for here? But you see, it's all politics. Flynn was the person that they pointed to at the beginning to say, see, Trump has criminals around him. The Trump campaign is a criminal enterprise. See, we got one. That was why it was so important that they destroy Flynn. And if the Flynn prosecution falls apart, it makes them vulnerable. People will start to, intelligent people who aren't completely brainwashed libs will ask questions. Where else were they perhaps playing outside the rules here a bit? Where else in this whole process was there abuse for political reasons, which is what we've been seeing, which is what we know? And then that brings me to the latest evidence today. Here's something you got to remember. Don't let them obscure this or play games with this. Obama as president, Biden as vice president were in the room when this ambush of Flynn was being ordered. That's right. The outgoing administration, the top level, orchestrated and ordered this to happen. Go after the incoming national security advisor with whatever you can. This is stunning. It's an outrage. It's the biggest political scandal of my lifetime, and I think stretching back much further than that. So how do we know that what I have said here is true? How do we know that Obama and Biden were fully aware of what's going on here, fully aware of the attempt to destroy General Flynn? They were in the room in the Oval Office when it happened. People say I say room funny. I guess I do say it kind of room. I say kind of like room. We're in the room where it happened. Oh, no, I just gave an accidental plug to the garbage Bolton book that's out there right now. But we have just released to the Flynn defense, I thought this was very, very interesting, the following, which everyone should be paying some attention to. And this is courtesy of my friend Sean Davis over at The Federalist. Handwritten notes from Peter Strzok disclosed by DOJ in federal court yesterday show that the operation against Michael Flynn was ordered by President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden in the Oval Office on January 5th, 2017. Now, I looked at this, and I've got to say, I do not have particularly good handwriting at all. I kind of look like what most people, I think, how they would write in the third or fourth grade. Like, I just don't have good handwriting. And people make fun of it. That's fine. My handwriting, however, is legible. This handwriting on this note, which is now an important piece of evidence, is almost impossible to decipher unless you really dig into it. But I found the transcription, the best one that we have so far. And here's what it says. Vice President says, Logan, and now these are notes. This is not a transcript. These are notes from the conversation taken by an FBI agent. VP, Vice President, Logan Act. President, these are unusual times. Vice President, I've been on the Intel Committee for 10 years and I never. President, make sure you look at things, have the right people on it. President, is there anything I shouldn't be telling transition team? And then the deputy here, I think FBI deputy, it says D, Flynn Kislyak calls, but appear legit. They were talking about this in January, during the transition, in the Oval Office, before the FBI went over and had their little sit-down chit-chat. This was a setup. Obama, his team, they knew it. This, my friends, it's hard to put into words, and I put things into words for a living, hard to put into words what an outrage this is. What a disgrace. Obama and his bitter Democrats all around him, and Comey, Sancticomey, think of what we've learned about. Sitting in the room at the time, Obama and Biden and Comey, and that they would have this kind of conversation about the incoming national security advisor, and out of just sheer spite, that's what this was, spite that their side, the Democrats and the deep state, that their side, the permanent bureaucracy, the ruling class from within the government, they lost to Trump. And they wanted to take a shot at this administration. And it wasn't a small shot. Take out the incoming national security advisor and convince people that the Trump team are a bunch of traitors and criminals. Just hobble the Trump team from the beginning. Just hurt them as much as you can. That was during what should be the sacred transfer, peaceful transfer of power. That's what happened here. Now, Democrats can try to deny it and dismiss it and all the other things. This is the reality of the evidence before us. The Obama team, Obama himself was in on this. This was the beginning of the soft coup.